I got to play for Bill and for a short while for Alvin. But Bill was one of my coaches since I was 12 years old. And obviously we still have that relationship and kind of checking with each other. I owe a lot to Bill and growing up to being the person I am. And we talked about it before. He picked me up from my house to get to games, taught me some great things. I screwed up royally in a big game. And, instead of, hollering at me and saying you should have done this and done that, gave me a huge hug. Things like that has shaped me into being not just the player, but the person that I am. I owe that to Bill. And you guys are at the right place. You're going to be, ball players listening in. You're at the right place. You're going to get better. You're going to grow as a ball player, but also as a person.
DSA family, to another edition of our Stay Ready podcast. We are excited to be here with you guys today. We have a great special guest today, Jose Ortega with the University of Redlands. He is the head softball coach there, so we have a lot of great stuff to talk about. Of course, we always have our co-hosts here with us, Bill and Alvin. We're excited to see you guys and have you guys on today. Alvin has a lot of great things to talk about too. We also have Rookie of the Year to talk about, which is really awesome. And then one cool thing, too, that I think might be really cool for our listeners listening today, especially if a lot of them are softball players. We're going to talk about one of the GMs for the Marlins, a new hire. Her name is Kim. I think her last name is NG. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it.
Ang.
What is it?
Yeah, Ang.
Ang. Okay, yes. Perfect. Yeah, she's the first female GM, so we're excited to talk about that too. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll welcome Jose Ortega. Thank you so much for being on with us today. We really appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and let you get started. Go ahead and let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. Again, my name is Jose Ortega. I'm the head softball coach at the University of Redlands. Got the job in the fall of 2018. So I had the 2019 season and the shortened COVID 2020 season. A little bit about me is I grew up here in Riverside. I went to Rubidoux High School, went to Riverside City College for 2 years. Did some cool things baseball-wise there. We ended up winning 2 state championships, so that was awesome. Was able to transfer to the University of San Diego, conference championship 2003. Was fortunate enough to be named to the first team all conference in 2004. Graduated, got my business administration degree. I didn't get drafted, was kind of sitting around, was like, man, what am I going to do? Went in and did a couple of tryouts, trying to catch a scout's eye. And then the Cleveland Indians called me and he's like, hey, we need somebody that can play catch. We need somebody that can go play catch out in Burlington, North Carolina. And I was ecstatic. I was like, where do I buy my ticket? And he's like, hold on, we'll get you a ticket. We'll get you some money. And I was ready to drive if I needed to and get out there. So after 2 years of playing, they approached me and asked me if I was interested in coaching. I wanted to. Obviously, it was something that I've wanted to do. But I told the minor league coordinator at that time was John Farrell, who was a big league manager with the Red Sox and somebody else. I forget who he was with, but he's like, no, you want to start coaching now. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm done playing. So I went with the short team or the short season team, spent some time in Florida for extended spring training. And then we went out to our season. It was awesome experience. I got home, was thinking I was going to go back, and then the softball coach at Riverside City College, approached me and said, hey, let's, do you want to come coach? I have no other coaches. I need some coaches. I'll give you, a stipend, some classes and things like that. And it ended up being financially more money than I was going to be able to make, as a coach. with the Indians organization. And, I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll do it. I'll stay home and do that very hesitantly. It didn't seem like something I wanted to do, but I just, at this point I wanted to make a little bit more money. But it was an awesome choice for myself. Obviously, have been coaching softball now for 14 seasons, 14 years. It's been an awesome blessing. And the first thing that I noticed was that softball players listen, man. They make every single adjustment that you ask them to make. Was working with a hitter one time, and she just made every single adjustment. I asked her to do something crazy, kind of like a cartwheel thing that I actually had learned from Kelly Ford, the head coach at Cal State Fullerton. She told me this story, and then I was like, you know what, let me try this. So I had a kid step back, kind of do a cartwheel, grab the bat as she's doing the cartwheel, and swing. And she kind of like looked at me for a second, and then she's like, okay. So then she's about to do it. And I was like, wait. And I was like, you were really going to do that? She was like, you asked me to do it. So I was like, cool, football is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy this. So, I was there for 8 years. I ended up getting the job at UC Riverside for 2 years as a assistant coach under Coach Garza. And alongside Jody Cox, who both are now at Fresno State, doing some good things up there. And then a couple years later, I ended up getting the job at University of Redlands. It's an awesome place. I love it. Small town. It's weird because it's right off a busy 10 freeway, but you get off the freeway, you turn, left or right, depending on which direction you're coming from. And it's a small little community. I'm excited to build something special there. We got going a little bit. We had a tough 2019 season. We were 16-24 with some awesome kids. Went out and recruited some good talented softball players and good kids. Where we were on a roll, we were 11-4, 7-2 in conference, and then we got shut down. Ended up sweeping the preseason ranked number 2 team in our conference. We swept them right before we got shut down. So we were excited where we were going, but obviously this is some different times, and right now we're trying to stay in contact with our kids as much as we can. We got meetings set up either weekly or biweekly, individual meetings, talking about everything, from grades to life to how people are coping with everything. And then we'll have a Tuesday night meeting pretty much every week. We skipped yesterday for a special reason. But it's certainly a different time right now, trying to help these young ladies kind of navigate through all of this.
Yeah. What's the adjustment been like? What have you guys had to do?
This fall semester we were virtual learning. So all the kids, we got young ladies in Washington, Oregon. One is in Montana, Colorado, and then up and down California. And so they're all home for the most part. We got a couple local kids. We got a kid here right in Redlands, in Beaumont. So they're the ones that are kind of close to campus, Corona kid. But for the most part, we're not doing much training. We started doing some training at the beginning, but then I looked at them like it's hard to kind of, do a virtual hitting lesson or hitting session with one of your kids where I'm sure they're probably worried about their grades or, just hanging out with family or staying safe. So we kind of shut that down and we just kind of started focusing in a little bit more on our team, on how they're doing. So it hasn't really been much softball, but we've been doing a lot of, again, just checking in. We did Pictionary. We actually have our team split up into 4 teams. And we have our little, competitions within the team, and we had a costume contest and stuff like that, but we had Pictionary, and I was like, man, these kids aren't going to get into this. And it was competitive. They were excited, loud. It was really cool. And it ended up coming down to the last drawing, and they ended up getting it and winning the whole thing and got points for their team. So we did things like that. Tuesday nights, it ended up falling on a World Series game. So we actually did just a World Series watching party We didn't really talk. We were just kind of, seeing each other and watching the game. And there was a couple of times where I saw something that, we stopped and we kind of talked a little bit about it. We definitely discussed the second and third and nobody out play that I don't think it was in the World Series. I think it was in the series before that with the Braves where the runner broke and they ended up both getting thrown out. That's actually a play that we work on a lot.
Oh my God.
And that runner at second base, man, he really kind of blew it. So for us is kind of the same thing. Get that run down at third base, allow that runner to get to second. In softball, it's a little easier to go from home to second. So it ends up being the same scenario as if they just threw across, but they had to work for it a little bit more. But obviously they did a terrible job on the bases. And I told them, I was like, if we ever do a base running mistake like that, we will be working on it all week. It's been still a fun time with them, but obviously we're hoping to get back on campus here. Everything we're working towards is getting back to campus. Obviously it's going to be totally different with testing, and right now our administration is working on housing all of our softball players in one area. So they'll kind of be obviously almost in their own bubble, so to speak. But obviously I think these kids need to get back to campus, need to have some in-person interaction with their peers, with their professors, and just get back to some sort of to normal, Yeah.
How are they handling it? Like, are they doing okay with the whole thing? I mean, I'm sure you guys talk about that. How are the athletes?
Our athletes, for the most part, are anxious to get back. I have a couple of kids that are just, whether it's even if it's a big family at home or by themselves, they miss just the interactions. Obviously, we have some first-year players that don't know what our campus life is like, and they're anxious. There's actually we have a first-year seminar class that ranges from so many. There's one kid in my class taking juggling, mathematics of juggling, actually. Another kid taking dog genetics, I believe it is. And then one kid is actually taking a class leaving home. Well, is she my Washington or Oregon kid? I think she's my Washington kid who's taking a class, her first year seminar class of leaving home while she's home. So I'm like, how is this class work? And she's like, Coach, we're trying to make it work, but obviously I'm home. So it doesn't really, like all the stuff that we're talking about doesn't really apply to me because I'm actually home. So, but yeah, these kids are anxious to get back, especially our returners and get back on track to what we kind of set off to do last year is kind of announcing that University of Redlands softball is back on the map. So
Jose, I've got a question, but a two-parter.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to us about what you look for in a player. And then how are you finding them? What's your recruiting process?
Yeah. So obviously I've been recruiting here in Southern California for 13, 14 seasons, or 14 years now. So having the network has definitely helped building relationships with those coaches and trusting that, hey, you need this kid, then I need that kid. You know what I mean? Obviously there's other coaches that are contacting us and saying, hey, you really need this kid. Well, I don't know who they are or whatnot. So it's hard for me to just say, oh, okay, sure. Come on in. So, what I'm looking for is, for me is Division I, Division II athletes that are looking for a Division III small school, experience. I know they're out there because we have a bunch of them right now. Talented young ladies that get after it. Our 2019 class that we brought in, super talented. In our 2020 class that just hasn't even been on campus yet is really, really talented. So I like energy. And it's funny because I think we've talked about this before is that, I grew up as a do as if, act as if, if you hit a home run, you just kind of, you run on the bases and you give high fives a little bit and sit down and move on to the next thing. Well, I like seeing a catcher get pumped up with a pitcher after a strikeout. People kind of, acknowledging each other, having some energy, having some bounce. I recruited one kid alone just on her energy on a Saturday night on a backfield in Vegas in a cold Vegas tournament. She was playing right field. Her second baseman dove, made a crazy diving catch, and my eyes obviously went to the play. But then it took me also to the reaction that she had it out right field. And I was like, dude, this kid's like pumped up, like 9:30, at the end of the ball game after her third softball game. The inning was over. That wasn't the end of the inning. So they had, I think maybe the first or second out, the inning continued and they got the routine outs after that. And then running in, she jumps on her shoulders and just excited about the play she made. So I was like, hey coach, I need this kid. I want kids to show up to campus that are just excited to be on the field. I didn't get into coaching to feel like I'm working. I like showing up to the yard and just having a good time, and obviously working at a high level, but bringing in kids that enjoy that challenge of working at a high level and having some aspirations of winning some conference championships and doing some cool things nationally. So position wise, it's different. I think the first thing, with that is sometimes looking for the need. Like right now we have 3 outfielders probably graduating this next upcoming 2021 year. So right now we're looking for 21 outfielders. But I'm finding some very talented infielders that through our conversations, I found out that they're willing, if they need to, go play in the outfield if they have to. So sometimes I'm not, I'm not finding the right outfielders, or maybe I am. But then, when I see this middle infielder who's, like a 2.9, 2.8 down the line, excited, energized, and I'm like, man, I need that kid. And then we have the conversation and saying, hey, if you don't win the infield position, are you good to go play in the outfield? And you can tell by the initial reaction, right? They might say, yeah, but you might be like, then that might be a tough conversation to have with that kid. So that might not be a kid that we bring in. But if you get that coach, I'll do whatever I need to do to get on the field, then I know I want that kid on our team. So I am excited about a conversation I'm having later tonight with an outfielder. Again, Division I, Division II type of talent. Hopefully that ends up working out and going well for us. Yeah.
Bill, that's something you've always kind of preached for us as baseball wise. That maybe be something that hopefully our softball listeners are listening and hearing too, that be prepared to play. If you're a position player, be prepared to play anywhere on the field, especially if you're good enough to do so. I mean, wherever you can to help your team win is the most important thing. So that's something Bill's always preached.
Yeah. The word that comes to mind for me then when you're looking at players is athleticism. So if you've got a middle infielder, and we can make the assumption if a player is a middle infielder, they're an athletic person. That adjustment into the outfield then just becomes a matter of learning the fundamentals and what the job is, right? The specific job for the position. But it's an easier transition. Obviously, you need somebody that can run and throw and those types of things. But athleticism is an important thing. Yeah.
Again, if they're willing and able, obviously, also. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. I don't want to disrespect outfielders that, hey, you can just throw anybody out there. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. But if, like you're saying, a good, talented, athletic person is willing and able to go out to the outfield and learn, when to throw ahead of bases, when to throw behind, when to do certain things, drop steps, charging mm-hmm. the ball, mm-hmm. All that stuff. Then it can be fun. For an outfield coach to take a talented person and try to help them build into an outfielder. But yeah, I want to make sure I'm not disrespecting any outfielders. And I know coaches like, oh yeah, just throw them in the outfield type of thing is, no, I don't, it's not like that. You got to make sure, obviously take your time, getting a lot of live reads out there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's definitely important to make sure that, you're not just going to, that's all you do. I mean, there's some coaches that's all they do is bring in shortstops and then kind of spread them out everywhere. That's not what I want to try to do. But like you're saying, if I see a talented young athlete who's got energy, is got all the kind of checks off all the boxes, I'm not going to shy away from that kid because I might have a couple other infielders already. Having exciting inter squads, competitive inter squads within the team, and being able to move kids around is fun for me. And now our right fielder maybe is struggling offensively. Okay, I need another bat. We can throw somebody else out there who's, again, going to give us a chance, and then maybe do a defensive switch later or whatnot. But when you have versatile kids, you have those options.
Right.
My advice for young coaches, 12U, 14U, would be move kids around. Let them go do different things, and don't let kids just be, shortstops or left fielders or catchers. Move them around so that when they show up to a university and they're a catcher, and there's a junior catcher who's a all conference type of kid, and you're not going to play for 2 years, you don't want to sit there just waiting for that to happen. You want to make sure you give yourself an opportunity to get on the field, whether it's usually for catchers, right? It's third base or first base or whatnot, or maybe one of the corner outfielder positions. But you don't want to trap yourself behind an All-American and wait for 2 years and then still have to compete for a job when that comes up. So
Right.
Yeah, and we see that at the pro level too, Jose. And just guys that come in and sometimes we have to have that conversation with the player, because they're locked in. They've always been the best shortstop or the best catcher or the best third baseman, the best first baseman. But then when you look ahead to the big league level, nobody's moving Kyle Seager off of third base, especially several years ago. And nobody's moving Robinson Cano off of second base several years ago. So, you're looking at your young players and you're sitting there going, hey, if they need a left fielder or a right fielder in the big leagues, will you go play left field or right field if that's your shot, to make your debut? And when you put it in those terms, then, guys will, just teach me what I need to do. And I also, Jose, what you said about it not being easy, my freshman year is Arizona State, fall ball, everything. I was on the infield all fall. We get to the spring. I'm on the JV team. I'm not even on the varsity team, and playing preseason games, and Coach Brock throws me in there and I get a couple knocks, and throws me in there the next day and I get a couple knocks, and Mel knows the story. The next thing you know is like, hey, can you go play left field? It wasn't can you, it was like, go play left field because I want to keep your bat in the lineup, And so, as you touched upon, if you're swinging the bat really, really well, there are not very many coaches that want to put a hot bat on the bench because they don't have a defensive position for that player. And that old axiom, if you can really hit, they find a place for you to play. But anyway, to your point, I remember I went out in left field, and it was pretty much, catch a routine fly ball, go over and pick up a base hit and throw it ahead of the runner. But I remember I have a nightmare. We're playing Cal State Fullerton, and so things are starting to get real, right, on our schedule. And I'm out in left field, night game, and Cal State Fullerton's rallying, and they're banging the ball all over the ballpark, and they're picking on me out in left field. Everything's coming my way. And I tell you what, the game has never been so fast. I mean, I was spinning around like a dog chasing his tail on those, balls that are driven over my head, crashing into the fence. Didn't know how to play the fence at all. Those duck hooks between you and the line, didn't know how to overrun those. So, so they're tipping off the end of my glove. And it was like, man, this is not batting practice where you're out there just kind of shagging fly balls.
You're yelling at the pitcher to miss a barrel one time. Like,
can you help a brother out? Help him get it in on the ground one time.
That's good.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, another good thing I picked up too is something I feel that you're hitting on, Jose, is having fun too at the same time. And one thing I picked up from the girl, your story, was the right fielder was that she was having fun in the moment. Even though it wasn't her play, she was having fun. She was excited. And she was having fun. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing we tell our girls and our guys, to make sure that they're having fun. Because even at your level, and I'm sure at your level, Alvin, the whole goal is to make sure you're having fun, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not having fun doing what you're doing, you're miserable anyway. So it's always good to just have fun and enjoy what you have going around. And that's even at the top tier levels of where you guys are at. So I think where we're heading for the listeners, the main thing is be athletic enough to play everywhere and have fun while you're doing it, so you can enjoy what you're doing. And your coaches are going to pick up on that. Like you've said, you're seeing girls having fun without even being involved in the play, which is important. So that's the main thing for our listeners,
is making sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Sometimes you get caught up in you're playing because you want to get that scholarship or whatnot, and then you start showing up to practice and to weights and to extra hitting or whatnot as a job, rather than just showing up because it's competitive. It's something you enjoy doing, and you let the rest of it take care of itself. Now, you should still have goals of wanting to do some cool things like that, of playing at a high level, your goals, playing at a 4-year or whatnot. But you still should show up with a smile on your face. Like, man, I get to, swing the bat. I get to take some extra ground balls, because it's cool. That's the one thing that I miss. I don't miss practice too much, but I miss, showing up early and just having a teammate hit me some random fungos. Going to the cage with me and my teammate and just talking and getting some swings in and trying to get a little bit better. Sometimes that seems like it's work for some people, and then now it's just you're showing up for the wrong reasons. You want to make sure you're showing up for the right reasons. I'll stop practice, man. I'll tell you guys, our facility is awesome. We have some ground crew guys that are just amazing at what they do. We got cool background. We got the mountains, Big Bear's right there. We got palm trees around our facility. I'll stop practice and I look around. I'm like, look at where you guys are at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough practice. Maybe we're struggling a little bit, and we'll just stop and like look around. Like, look at this place. Like, we get to show up here every day and get our work done, where other people are showing up to some places that aren't drugged. The outfield is all this way, but we get to show up to an awesome yard, where we get to get better, but at the same time, it's you got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
Teaching some gratitude for sure. Yeah. That's definitely a big thing. And speaking on that, it just trickles into you as the coach too, and Bill and Alvin, and as long as everybody else, no one likes. It just got me thinking, like, no one likes to really get yelled at, or no one likes to really, have a crappy practice, and it trickles down through the players and the coaches. And you're happy when everyone else is having fun, and they're happy when you're having fun, and so it's a trickle system, and it all works together. And like you're saying, if you get the benefit of going out and playing and you guys are a Division III school, so I mean, even the benefit of having a beautiful facility and people that care about you and things like that, that's a huge benefit for our listeners, and a huge benefit for what they want to do in life and goals. And you're only one out of the hundreds of thousands of universities that are out there for these people. So, that's a huge thing. And I think that's awesome. And I think for our listeners, make sure that you're taking the advice from Jose and having fun and enjoying the times and being grateful for where you're at. Especially to where we're at too, because you said something. We don't, our facilities aren't the 100% best, but we're grateful for what we have to offer at this time, and it can only get better. The more grateful we are, the more things will be better for us. So I think it's a really good thing to touch on there. What are you recruiting wise? I mean, what is it? Right now, what's your process like?
Like I said, it's building the relationship with those coaches. But right now it's, I did get out to Arizona twice to recruit, and I made sure to go and watch the kids that I already had kind of earmarked for, I need to go watch this kid. I need to go do this. I'm not the most organized person in the world, but I went out to Arizona early November, and I had my driving directions. I had what game I needed to watch, what players, like a spreadsheet. I impressed myself when I did all that because my assistant, handling all that and like, hey, I need to go this kid, and are these teams and these kids on that team, and she'll kind of figure it out for me. And I was like, okay, cool. But it was me, and I was excited that I got to do a good job with it. So obviously right now it's a lot of video that we're looking at. There's some sites that are trying to do what they can. Athletes Go Live. I'm not sure what you guys are doing on the baseball side, but there's you set up a camera in the back and coaches log in. Coaches, I believe it's free. I think teams have to pay a certain amount of money. But there were some events in Utah, and then some organizations down here put on some camps with like legit like four of those cameras that you turn and graphics and things like that. Those were awesome to watch because one, you can watch them live, or two, you can watch them back. You can go back and watch them later, and then fast forward through some stuff, and makes it made a little bit of the sort of virtual thing a little bit easier. So kind of going back to it though, right now we're still trying to fill those spots in the outfield for us. We have some talented players that I've already committed and said, hey, we're coming. Again, that versatile infielders that are versatile and are willing to go out to the outfield. I've got a couple pitchers that I've been talking to that are program changing type of pitchers that we're excited about. And a couple catchers that we've been talking to that, again, we're excited to have them join us, and we'll see how that all works out. As far as, recruiting and how that works for us at Division III level, it's different. And I'm kind of, I don't have athletic aid. So, as far as finances is concerned, it's all merit-based scholarships and financial aid-based need, through FAFSA and things like that. So I've enjoyed, the previous coach, I had a lot of success here. I got to talk to her, and she's like, Coach, you're going to love not having scholarships. And I was like, it was my first D3 go around. Like, I had no idea. I was afraid on how I was going to recruit because I didn't have scholarships. And I looked at them like, what are you talking about? Like, how am I going to get kids here? And she's like, just believe me, you're going to love it. All you have to do is talk to them about who you are, talking about the university, talk to them about the softball program. And if they come, great. And if they don't, then it's okay. There's no going back and forth and negotiating. Hey, I'm offering you 40%. Well, coach, I'm getting 60 over here. And then it becomes really a business relationship where, the kids I'm recruiting, we talk about family and bringing in kids and they're going to help build our culture. And we get to start off with the relationship that says, hey, I really want you to be part of this program. Here's why you should consider coming. Here's what we do. If you come, great. If you get an offer that blows you away, then take it. And if you feel that's going to be your home for 4 years, then take it. There will be no hard feelings on our end. We understand it. But at the same time, this is what we have to offer, and this is who we are, and go from there. So it's been, I mean, obviously not obviously, but we've been successful in our recruiting. We've gone after some kids and we've gotten a lot of yeses from players that again are Division I, Division II type of quality players. But I didn't have to go and negotiate and, convince somebody to come to us. I don't have to convince anybody to come here. I don't have to sell. I just tell them who we are, what we do. And then those players make their decisions on that and other offers and things that they receive. So it's actually been pretty enjoyable recruiting, knowing that I don't have to try to outbid, the team next to me. It's just here we are. This is what we do, and most people like it. Most people like Redlands, our field, our university, our academics. But then sometimes, obviously, finances. Not sometimes, but a lot of times, finances come into play, where they're going to get other offers at different places, and we get that, and we understand it, and we wish them well and wish them good luck. So.
Well, let's dive a little deeper into you guys, speaking on what you're talking about, Bill actually posted a really cool, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a article about you from the Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
So that's your own conference you guys are in, right? It's called the SCIAC. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, SCIAC. Mm-hmm.
SCIAC, yeah. So the SCIAC conference, they had a lot of great things to talk about you and your guys' program. So you're being recognized, basically what you're saying. You're not having to feel competitive with other people.
Yeah.
Your own organization, your own conference is real recognizing you guys. So let's talk a little bit about that. How'd that make you feel, getting that? And I'm kind of reading on it right now. I'm kind of looking at it.
Was, I got an email saying, hey, would you be interested in being a part of this? And I told him I was honored to being recognized or being chosen. I don't want to say recognized because,
sure.
And it was cool. I think I was the first softball coach and I think I was the 8th, and Coach Trish actually in Whittier was the spotlight this past week. But I said, yeah, man, it's great. So he gave me a couple questions and I did what I could to answer them. Again, just shooting from the hip. This is who we are. This is what we do. And he loved my answers and was able to post them. And it was cool. I enjoyed it. It made me, honestly, kind of going back, it made me realize I answered a question about my favorite softball memory. And, we went into CMS, which is in Pomona area, right next to Pomona Pitzer. And, we were 5th or 6th place in their conference. We went into nationally ranked team, and we ended up stealing game 1. And then kind of going back through it, we had 6 seniors. Every single senior had a big role in getting that win. And then Mika, who was our number 2 pitcher, ended up having a great start in game 2, and we actually were in position to go win a ball game. We ended up losing a 1-run ball game, I think 2-1. So it was kind of really cool going back and seeing just the effort that those seniors put in. There was a crazy play. It was 7th inning, 2 outs, bases loaded, the whole 9. Right, we were down 1. Our catcher hit a ground ball to the shortstop. We had our speedy second baseman on second base. So she kind of got in the way a little bit, we jumped over the ball and made the shortstop just kind of, double clutch. We had Tyson running down from first to second base, just, hauling, what, and she ends up sliding safe. So we tie the game, and then I'm spinning the runner from second. I'm having her go, and she was more concerned to get into third base. And then I'm sending her home, and then she had to take a wide turn. She had to run behind me as a third base coach. And she ends up, obviously everybody was still concentrated on the safe call at second base. And she ends up having to go around me, and she still sneaks in. And then we go up 1. We have 8-9 coming up on their lineup. I think for the first 2 outs were routine. They have an All-American kid stepping up to the plate. I looked to my pitching coach. I'm like, man, I have no idea what to throw right here. So honestly, in my head, I was like, I'm just going to throw her the curveball because that's Lindsay's best pitch. She throws a curveball, smashes it right at our shortstop. And in my head, I was like I'm please just hit something hard at somebody on this first pitch, and let's just call it a day. And she does that. And mathematically, it actually kept us in contention to going into the conference tournament at the end of the year. So we had a little different drive, and it was a really cool, fun game. And, I think it was one of our biggest wins. And we go out to the outfield after our game's over, and they're all seeing what I'm going to do. And I'm like, give them excited and get them pumped up to go back to game. There's no talk. You don't need to talk about anything. Right? Go get some food. Let's get ready for game 2. And again, we came out ready, and it was a good day for our program.
So go ahead, Bill.
I want to interject something. I want to circle back to something, Jose, that you talked about, and the dynamic of athletes coming to a Division III school, okay, without the pressure of earning and then keeping
Yeah.
a scholarship, and what that does to players psychologically, and where that puts them. We talked about having fun and enjoying the game.
Yeah.
What does that do? What is your observation? What does that do?
Yeah, I'll even go back a little further. Is when I was applying for the job, man, they put me through the ringer. I was there from 7:30 to 5 p.m., 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I was there, trying to impress the hiring committee. There was other committees that I needed to meet with. I had breakfast with the AD. But with the coolest part that actually, I went into it also trying to see, is this a place that I want to be at? Mm-hmm. So I got to have lunch with the players, and I just, they asked me a couple of questions and things like that. And I think I was impressing them. And then one kid stands up and says, Coach, we need you to understand, like, there is nothing holding us being here. If we decide from one day to the next that I don't want to play softball, it doesn't affect us scholarship-wise. I still continue to be a student. So we're here because we want to play softball, but we want to play it at a better level than we're playing it right now. And I was like, man, okay, like this is going to be fun. Hopefully now I'm like, I got to get this job, right? I was sleepwalking through the first part of it, and I'm like, man, okay, now I got to step it up because this is really a cool place and I want to be here. It was a senior, Jordan, that stepped up and says, there's nothing here that is really keeping us, but we love this game. We want to be better at it, and we want to make sure that we bring in the right person, that we help bring in the right person to do that. So, I think that was the first part. And I was like, okay. So again, we show up and we practice. I can call a 6 a.m. practice if I want, and they showed up ready to go. We can't call any evening practices right now because we don't have any lights, but that's all right. But yeah, it's just, again, not having that pressure of having to, the pressure to perform is getting to stay on the field, which should be, right? It shouldn't affect, it does at the Division I, Division II level, and different coaches might have different approaches to it. But, if you don't perform at a certain level, then it might affect your standing at that university. Financially. So it is, there's a lot of pressure there.
I think that's interesting. We're trying to build a culture we are building a culture at DSA that pretty much mirrors that sentiment. And I talk to our partners, I talk to our instructors, I talk to parents when we're having conversations. We want people that want to be in our organization, that they have goals, that athletic goals and growth goals that they think we can contribute to, and so we don't. I use the word pander. We don't pander to parents and players because of talent. We want people that are committed to getting better and developing, and they believe and appreciate the product offering, what we have to offer towards them meeting their goals. And for me personally, that takes a lot of pressure off the daily thing of worrying about, man, this is a good kid. I really want this kid in the program, or I really want that kid in the program. I don't have those worries because that's not part of our mission.
Yeah.
To try to convince players that they need to be part of our program so that we can look good on the field. If we get the right people, and of course we want some athletic talent in there, that takes care of itself. We do our jobs in terms of development and growth opportunities, then that takes care of itself, and people see that and they want to be a part of what we're doing. I think that's real interesting. I talked to a lot of athletes over the years, obviously, and I know that pressure to keep a scholarship is really tough. Yeah. And in different environments, you have good kids that don't get treated very well.
Yeah.
Because, they didn't have a good year, or, there's always that pressure to win. Division II for coaches, I'm talking about. The pressure to win and keep a program successful. drives that motivation of what kids stay, what kids come in, and then what kids stay and make it through. And it kind of takes away from the love of the game, if you will.
Yeah.
It really makes it more of a business. So I think that's good. I think that's something that our listeners should take heed of when they're setting goals for their kids, in terms of a college softball or playing experience. That's what D3 programs have to offer. And I can't speak for all of them, but I'll speak for Jose, the quality person that he is and who I've seen him grow to be. University of Redlands is a place you want to consider.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, we talk about growth. And like you said, if you're a talented player, that is awesome. That is great. But you want to go to and be at a place where they're going to take that talent, they're going to take that person and still want to get better, right? You don't want to just have, I'm the best player, but we talk to our best players and say, okay, you are best player here, but now the goal should be, let's be the best player in the conference. And then maybe if we get to that, let's be a top of the country type of athlete, type of player. And then we also talk about that academically, like, hey, you're killing it right now. You got a 95 in this class. Let's go. You got a big exam coming up. Let's see if we can raise that a little bit. Instead of just kind of being, happy with where you're at. Like I said, we talk about growth. We talk about growth in recruiting. A point that I make every single time is that we have a lot of great things at the University of Redlands, but my job is to mold you and help you become this person at the end of 4 years that is ready to go and take on the world. And that's not going to happen if I make your journey through this 4 years easy. I'm supposed to make it hard. I'm supposed to challenge you. Wake you up at 5:30 so you can go to weights, 8 a.m. class, all that stuff. You're supposed to call home and say, man, this is hard. This is different. This is not what I expected. And I'm okay with that. You can call them and say, man, Coach Jose sucks. He's done this and da-da-da-da-da. It's my job to help you be better. And I have to put you through some stuff for that to happen. It's not just going to happen with you just kind of cakewalking. And I just use this little example. It's not my job to smooth out the road for you, but it's my job to help you maneuver through that tough road that's ahead. Because it is 4 years at a university is not, you want to make sure that you're enjoying them for the right reasons, and they're challenging you, they're pushing you to be better than what you came in with. So it's not about just kind of cruising through 4 years and then kind of saying what's going on after that. It's about challenging yourself and pushing you to be somebody different, somebody better than who stepped onto campus that first day.
Right.
Well, Jose, I really appreciate that too. You just triggered in my mind the thought of, I think we all understand, maybe not our youngest players and parents, but those that have been around the sports for a few years understand that it's a sport that's built on repetition.
Yeah.
You have to be, that's what practice is all about. It's about repetition, but just piggybacking off of what you just said, you can say that I did something 100 times. I took 100 swings. I took 100 ground balls. I threw 100 pitches. I played long toss for 25, 30 minutes. But if you do it 100 times wrong, you're not getting any better. You're just perfecting, wrong. And so, a part of working, a part of DSA, a part of everything that we're about is, like you said, growth, which is continuous improvement. So we'll show you how to do it right. We understand that, there's a process to being able to do it right consistently, but then we'll hold you to that standard of doing it right consistently, repetitively.
Yeah.
Because, ultimately it's all funneled towards competition, and the competition at the highest level. And you just took us through that memorable game that you had, to be able to execute correctly at a high level when the environment is emotionally charged and everybody knows what's at stake. That's what we're shooting for. And so for all of our players out there, yeah, you're going to go out and take 100 dry swings today. Well, 100 bad dry swings, you haven't gotten better. Mm-hmm. In some ways, it might be better for you to take 25 excellent dry swings than take 100 swings just for the sake of, taking 100 swings.
Yep. I think that's all great stuff. So I have one more question for our listeners before we kind of move on. What do you think, Jose, you have helped your athletes the most on or off the field, and why?
Man, that's a good question. Mm-hmm. I'd like to say that I've had an impact on both. More. My efforts were probably a little bit more off, but I think we might have gotten better on because we went from 16-24 to 11-4 in one season. I'd love to say that, but obviously we've made some really big efforts in just building relationships with our incoming players and obviously the players that were there. When I arrived from the seniors that I only was with for 5-6 months to the incoming kids that we recruited. So building relationships, letting them know that we're here for them. I have an open door policy if they need to come talk about whether it's playing time or things aren't right. We just need to talk about it. I think I've done a good job of having that and allowing players to come in and talk about anything. If it's playing time, and I tell them if you want to talk about playing time, just be sure that you're ready to hear the truth, because there's no reason to kind of take Bill's word as pander about, okay, you're really good, but you're just not playing. Well, maybe that's not the case. Hey, you need to do better here, and here. But I think I'm challenging them on both ends. Quick 2 stories. I had one kid that as a first-year player last year I told her at the end of our fall season, you are 4th-string shortstop. You're probably not going to play too much at short this year. She understood. She went home. It seems like she put a ton of work in. Came back in January and was just ripping the cover off the ball. I look at my assistant. I'm like, we got to kind of like what you said, Alvin, earlier, is I got to find a spot for her. This kid is just ripping the ball. I'm like, hey, can you play third? She said, yeah. Later, she tells me, Coach, I had never played third in my life, and I was scared out of my mind being over there. But ended up being our starting third baseman. Maybe came off the field a couple times, but that was it. And challenging them, letting them know the truth. Hold on, babe. Go back on mine, please. Sorry, guys.
You're good.
You should let her come in and get on camera.
In, say hi.
Hey. Hair's all we just do pajamas. It's kind of what we do here. Hair's all messed up.
That's all right. She's at home. Hi.
She's like, hey, you gotta borrow my daddy for an hour. I can at least say hi.
Baby dinosaur.
Oh my goodness.
Dinosaurs, huh?
Yeah.
The future softballer right there.
This kid's a beast, man. We have a little cage in the back. We have 4. She was even bothering me earlier. She's like, Dad, let's go hit. I'm like, I can't right now, baby, but we'll go in a little bit. We took the net down for something, a project that we were doing in the backyard, and like, Dad, the net's down. You got to put it up so I can hit. I'm like, okay, let's go.
That's funny.
Loves it.
So the reason I asked you that question was because I was actually reading the story about you, and one of the questions was, describe one of your most rewarding experiences while coaching at Redlands. And your response was, that's an easy one. My first year semester player had to struggle academically. Yeah. And you came up with a game plan. And you said, since then, 4 straight semesters, she'll finish with a 3.7 or higher.
Yeah. That was my second one, man. She's doing a great job. We check in with kids if for our new players once a week. For kids that are just absolutely killing it academically, we'll go bi-weekly. And she went from having some intense conversations academically with myself to being that bi-weekly kid check-in. So extremely proud of her. And I told her you can't waste your time here. We can do all the things great in softball, but if we're not taking care of ourselves academically, then we're just wasting our time. And then also, being frank is you're wasting a lot of money. It's, whether, tuition's high here at University of Redlands, again, academics, merit scholarships, financial aid based needs. So players pay different amounts because those are financial aid based need. Some kids are paying less than 5, some kids are paying 30, whatever the case may be. Even for that kid that's paying 5, it's still a lot of money, right? It's not just that it's less for her, it's still a lot of money. That's what her family can contribute. So whoever you are, like, you're here not taking care of your academics, and you're wasting time and you're wasting a lot of money. So I kind of sometimes put it frank that way. And it was awesome. Every time we still talk about it, even though it's happened a couple years ago, I'm like, it is amazing, the turnaround that you had. And it was a decision that we had to make, and we made it. And she's been doing well.
Well, that speaks very highly of your leadership there.
Yeah. And I want to interject on the question that you asked, Jonathan. And I think because the impacts on and off the field, okay, the measurables are different.
Sure.
Right. And so for 4 years, you have an opportunity, Jose has an opportunity to observe growth, right? On the field and academically and off the field. But the off-field growth doesn't stop. And so the true measure of your impact is really over a lifetime, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I think you're a great example of it, Jose. And our relationship, I'm not taking credit for anything, but I've had an opportunity to watch you grow and become and be the person that you are. When you were 16, there's no way that I could have looked into the future and seen the man that I'm looking at today, and the path that you took, right, to get where you are. We were baseball focused, and now here you are, flip the script, right, and taking on the softball, created and developed a passion for the women's game and making impact on that side. So that's part of the reward. Yeah. If you can maintain some relationships, all the relationships is really the goal, right? And watch people into the future, get a chance to reflect with them years from now. You really get the true measure of what your contribution was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously a lot of the stuff that you taught us on the baseball field, there were life lessons, obviously, right? So, I always go back to a quote, and I forget the baseball coach's name. He was a Division I coach. He's like, "Hey, you guys did awesome this year. How do you think you did as a coaching staff?" Or a question similar to that. And they're like, "Well, I'll tell you in about 20 years. I'll let you know how we did in 20 years, because that's when we'll figure out. That's when we'll find out how what kind of man we helped build." And I was like, "Man, that's awesome." So you take little things like that. I tell my players all the time, a lot of the stuff that I teach you, I didn't come up with it. I'm stealing stuff from other people, and I'm trying to just create this thing for myself. So when you steal things like that from coaches like that, and it just kind of impacts you a certain way, and it's you just try to be a good person, try to treat people right, and try to help people. That's kind of what we're doing. So, I'm super competitive. I want to win some conference championships. I want to, hopefully our team gets recognized, here soon at the national level. But what I look forward to is the wedding invites, the baby pictures, I'm like, hey, like if we're getting those, then we're doing something right. Yeah. We're building relationships. I agree. Kids are reaching back 10 years, 15 years later. And, I agree. And having us be part of a special moment for them like that, then we did something cool.
I agree. So we're running a little short on time here. Let's keep talking about the empowerment of the women here, because we're on the softball, a lot of softball players, women. Let's talk about the empowerment. Let's talk about kind of move on to the baseball side of things. But the Marlins just hired a brand new woman as their general manager. Kim, say it again for me, Alvin. Kim Enge, and she's the female general manager for the Marlins. So let's talk about the empowerment of that. I know, Alvin, you probably have a lot to speak on that, being up in the pro level, and Jose, Bill, I'm sure you do too. So let's talk a little about that, and continue on the women empowerment here.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a man's world, traditionally. And so, just kudos to Kim. I did have the opportunity to meet her once years ago when she was with the Dodgers. And, she's earned it. We were talking earlier before we started recording about her resume, starting off as an intern with the White Sox and working her way up through the organization, through the ranks, assistant general manager. She's been in, all the rooms, had all those conversations, player contracts, draft rooms, running a farm system. She's done it all. And so like you said, kudos to her for her perseverance, and the courage that she has, to so many times be the only one, of her kind, so to speak, in a certain environment, in some of those meetings, in some of those rooms, meeting with ownership and, meeting with other GMs from other clubs or other peers, for her level, and being the only one. But she loves the game. She's obviously really good at what she does. She's really smart, and she's passionate for the game, and she has earned this opportunity. And, I wish her nothing but the best, except, when we play, of course, when we play the Mariners, there's no doubt there. But she's a groundbreaker, and something to definitely be celebrated. And, we have, with our organization, with the Mariners, we have a number of women who have been first. We have one of the first female athletic trainers in our minor league system. We had the first full-time female scout, work for us. And so, just knowing those young women, and some of our organizational meetings, and looking around, and there's 4 or 5 women in a room of 160 plus people. You just kind of feel like, man, it must be tough. And so to have people in your corner that are cheering for you and want to give you every opportunity to succeed, I think is really, really important. And Jose, I know you can speak to that as you're preparing young ladies.
I obviously, as a women's coach, and I got 2 young little girls that seeing things like this is awesome. I would make the argument that she is probably the most prepared first time GM that there could be, because she's had to do more, right? I feel that she's had to do more to be able to be recognized. I believe I read that she was an assistant GM for 20 years. So I can't imagine any other GM being an assistant GM for 20 years and sticking around for that big job. And I'm like, for me, I think the GM is the top, baseball position, obviously outside of ownership, that you can receive. So, perseverance, obviously grit, to me comes to mind. And I would say she's probably the most prepared first time GM, because you have to be, if you're gonna be the first anything, then you're gonna have to be more prepared than the rest of the field. So again, being around for 20 years, and obviously you're around for a lot longer, but being an assistant GM, which, you do the math, and let's say in 20 years, each organization hires 2 GMs, right? So that's let's say she didn't put in her name on every position, but 100 GMs were hired at least, 60 to 100 GMs have been hired in the 20 years that she's been an assistant GM that maybe she was in, the running for it, that she had been overlooked. And to me, if I'm overlooked 60 times, 100 times, I'm not sure if I'm going to stick around and wait for this to happen. But she stayed the course and knew that she was going to be there. And I think Bill knows I've been a huge Derek Jeter fan for forever, since back in, I got my number 2 jersey from ABD. Having DJ and his team kind of be the team that pulls the trigger on this is awesome. And there's, female coaches up and down Major League Baseball, like Alvin was talking about. There was Cubs coach Rachel Folden. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that name, but there was a webinar that I was just on. I think Blast Sensors was putting it on, and she blew me away. And talking about tight movers versus loose movers. And if you have a tight mover, you don't want to teach them like a loose mover. And if you have a loose mover, you don't want to teach them like a tight mover. Physical screening, things like that. And I'm just like, man, like I'm not doing enough. You know what I mean? But like, I think the women that are getting these positions, like I said before, like they have to be even more prepared than most coaches, because if somebody's going to take a chance on hiring you, they really have to be sold on your knowledge. And these women are doing an amazing job. I think I had someone Justine Siegel with the A's, Rachel with the Yankees kind of started there. She wanted to get into hitting. She wasn't getting a shot and went into the strength and conditioning world, how the body moves, sports science, stuff like that she was majoring in, getting, degrees in, and then end up getting a shot, working with hitters. And like I said, they have to do more than most of us. So I thought it's a cool thing what baseball's doing. It's not just hey, let's give them a shot. It's these ladies have earned their spot here because they know what they're doing. So I'm excited to see what Kim does and the rest of the ladies that are in Major League Baseball.
And what's kind of exciting about that is traditionally, I would think that it's usually they have people that are maybe like GMs or coaches or people that have played the game in the past or been there before, or, now it's, there's no females that have played pro ball before. So it's really going to be mainly based off of education.
Yeah.
And what you study, your mind. Everything's gonna be your mind rather than just the physical stuff of usually how things were. Old coaches or old baseball players. Yeah. So they play the game, they know how it works in and out, and that's why you get the job. But now they're coming to find more people that are coming to here that are bringing them to the organization, which I think is really awesome. That they're just it's opening their mind, the mental side of the game of how to do things, and I think that's awesome. And I think, Bill, you were getting ready to say something.
Yeah.
Too, so.
Well, having had some experience at being a first and then an only, for a while, I can tell you that there's a burden of expectation that comes with it. What I found was being me, just being myself, and demonstrating what I had to contribute to an organization, and let them decide my value, right? And I just did the things that I did, right? And the things that I was good at, we tried to accentuate, and I was lucky enough to be put in a position in my work career to take advantage of those things. I was given opportunity, basically. And then I didn't try to be more than who I was. And if who I was and what I had to contribute wasn't good enough, I wouldn't have got the job in the first place. So, I'm sure that Kim and some of the other females that are coming into baseball don't need this advice, but those that aren't in an organization, those that aspire to something, that would be my advice is, you hone your skills, you educate yourself to what it is, the task at hand, so that you can be the best that you can be. And then the last thing that I think is demonstrated in Kim Inge's example is the passion that you have for whatever it is you're doing, whether it's sports or business. That passion is going to sustain you through 20 years, a 20-year wait, right? To reach a goal. You have to have that. And those are the things that the qualities that I think you have to have in being a first, and then sometimes an only, because you're always going to be under scrutiny. There's going to be somebody out there trying to unjustify why you're there, along with justifying why you're there. And so you need those qualities in a person, whatever it is, whatever the task is, whatever the job is. Those are qualities that you have to have. I've worked for female and male bosses, and where the rubber meets the road, there was no difference. In the good ones, there was no difference. All the qualities, all the elements that was necessary to be a good leader and to succeed in leadership existed, and gender didn't matter. It just didn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, again, you just take the lessons that we had on the field is show up and get better, you know, and if you have that mentality of just showing up, getting better every single day, then something good is going to happen. You know, it's hard to show up and say, hey, I'm really low on the totem pole and I'm going to be a GM. Well, it doesn't work that way. You show up, you do your job, you get better. And you have the goals of getting there, but it doesn't happen on that one day. Right. Obviously in Kim's situation, it being an assistant was 20 years, but it took a heck of a lot more, just to get to that spot, to be an assistant GM. So again, it's awesome to see. And again, I think, I've heard some of her interviews and it seems like that's who she is. She just shows up and she's going to do her job. And whether she it's awesome that she's the first female, first Asian, I believe, also with the Asian heritage to be a GM. But she's going to show up, she's going to do her job and do the best she can. And she was going to do that if she was the first or the second or the third. It didn't really matter. She was just going to show up and do her job. Right. So it's cool to see that. That's just it's the way that successful people think. It's you show up, you get better. Sometimes you have those weird special people like Jordan, right? That has to be the best at everything. That doesn't matter. And you want to be competitive, but you just got to show up and get better. Show up and get better. 1% better every day, and good things happen.
Yep. And Jose, I like too the tie-in with what you were talking about with the player that improved academically. That went from being, someone who was in trouble to being a biweekly for you. And in the tie-in you mentioned with Rachel Folden and her knowledge of that technology. And I know sometimes for our young students out there, you just like, when am I ever going to use this? When am I ever going to use this information? Well, a part of, academics, a part of academic development is just learning. It just boils down to being a learner, being someone who knows how to dig in on something and learn about it. And then what you got to witness was the expertise that comes from somebody who loves to learn. And learns about a new technology like blast motion or whatever the technology might be. But they just take those applicable skills, those transferable skills. Let me just say it that way. They take those transferable skills and they apply it to a new technology that allows them to be a difference maker and become an expert in that world. And then now all of a sudden that becomes highly desirable because you have 30 clubs that are looking for experts in those types of fields. And so I'm trying to make a direct connection for our young viewers between what they're doing in, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, when you have this tendency to say, man, I'm never going to use this stuff, to what we're talking about right now, being prepared, being qualified to take advantage of an opportunity when it presents itself.
Yes. And we've had conversations with some ball players like that too, but I always tell them like that the piece of let's go biology major, right? She's taken maybe a second year of Spanish, and it's like, I'm not going to need Spanish. And I'll argue that she would, but I always tell them, like, the piece of paper that you get at the end of all this, the degree that you get, it ultimately says that you persevered through some tough times to get this piece of paper. You didn't like everything that you studied, but at the end of the day, you pushed through and you got it done. And that's what I think for me is a degree. Like, probably, I don't know what the percentage is, but probably more than half of the people that end up getting a degree go in a field different than what they studied, right? And again, that piece of paper just showed that they pushed through something that was uncomfortable and got it done. And you know what? I want this person because she's got the piece of paper because she did something that probably was uncomfortable and got through it. And, just showing that rather than giving up or not, graduating or having to take, a fifth or sixth year to get through some stuff, which is fine. People have to get through their thing. But I think ultimately that's what the degree shows.
And it shows that knowing that there's no women inside this game, it's a tough road to know that you're taking a huge risk to try to do something for yourself. So it takes a different mindset.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing stuff, man. Amazing stuff. So, well, we've come to our time now. Thank you, Jose, for being on today. We really appreciate you, man. A lot of great stuff that our listeners can listen into, and we'll do a lot more promotion for you too as well. And we'll hopefully we can funnel some DSA girls through your program. That'd be an awesome thing.
We appreciate it. I know. I'll say this last thing is young ladies that are in this program already, you're at a right spot. We haven't mentioned it here this time, but I got to play for Bill and for a short while for Alvin. But Bill was one of my coaches since I was 12 years old. And obviously we still have that relationship and kind of checking with each other. But I owe a lot to Bill and growing up to being the person I am. And we talked about it before. He picked me up from my house to get to games, taught me some great things. I screwed up royally in a big game. And, instead of, hollering at me and saying you should have done this and done that, gave me a huge hug. Things like that has shaped me into being not just the player, but the person that I am. I owe that to Bill. And you guys are at the right place. You're going to be, ball players listening in. You're at the right place. You're going to get better. You're going to grow as a ball player, but also as a person. So, I'm looking forward to seeing some DSA emails my way, Jose_Ortega at redlands.edu. And I'll make sure to take a good look and send some video and go from there. Last thing I will, with video and stuff, just, iPhone video is fine. There's some awesome, services out there that do some cool things. But for me is if I can see it and it's not too grainy, send it my way and I'll take a look at it.
That's excellent. Thank you, Jose.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I
Appreciate
you guys.
A lot of good stuff to talk about, and I agree with you there. Bill's been a really good leader in my life as well too. So, for our listeners, check us out on our social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We are partnered with a company called Baker Bats. They have some really awesome wood bats. We do have some links that we do post on our social medias if you're interested in getting some wood bats. They're really good quality. Another cool thing too that we're starting to introduce some really cool LED plaques that we will be doing exclusively for our members for now, but we will be introducing them here soon. Bill's holding up one in the video there. It's kind of hard to see, but we will be posting some stuff on our social media. So stay tuned with that. Really cool ideas that we got some going on for you guys. So thank you guys again. Please subscribe to our podcast if you already haven't, and we'll see you guys next time.